Our first guest tonight is an attorney, a businessman, and a politician who is the 36th governor of Oklahoma City. When he was elected, he was the youngest mayor in Oklahoma City since 1923. And this first year, he was the youngest mayor of any U.S. city over 500,000 people. He's a member of the Osage Nation and thus the first Native American mayor of Oklahoma City as well. Welcome to the show, David Holt. Welcome to the show, Mayor Holt.
Thank you. I don't know if you heard yourself, but you introduced me as the governor of Oklahoma City.
Oh, did I? Well, it's the same.
Which, well, this is kind of tipping my hand about our secession plan that I came here to talk about tonight. So.
Excellent. Sign me up for that, yes.
Is that from Oklahoma, the U.S., or both?
I don't know. Open a discussion.
We're going to carve it with the Canadian River and float away. That's the plan. Right. Well, Mayor Holt, I know that you are a supporter, a fan, an advocate for civic engagement. And, you know, that's our bailiwick here.
That's your bag.
Can you tell us a little bit about what makes Oklahoma City different than maybe the state as a whole as it relates to civic engagement specifically?
Well, interesting question. I mean, I think we have a unique political culture here that's unique from the state and probably a lot of other places in the country. And I think it's I don't know if it's eternal or it goes back to, you know, statehood, but I definitely think it's existed in my adult life. And what that political culture is that people from both parties really work together. And I mean it, you know, I mean, like, I think that's real. And we find common ground, which there is actually quite a bit, you know, and unfortunately in our current political environment and other places, it doesn't seem like people try very hard to even find that common ground. But it seems like here we work really hard at it. I mean, leadership matters. I think that people in positions like mine have tried to foster that and seek pragmatic, compromised solutions time and time again. So, you know, I don't know if our voting rates are better than the rest of the state. I don't have that data at my fingertips. But I do know that we get things done. We're more effective in many cases than other cities and other states and other levels of government. I think that's objectively true, and I think it makes us unique.
How much do you think like the tone of the political discourse contributes to that? Like, you know, whether it's the state capitol, whether it's at the federal level, you know, you mentioned people here in Oklahoma City working together, you know, listening to each other. What are your thoughts about kind of the tone and tenor of political discourse outside of Oklahoma City, and what contributes to that?
Well, sure. Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many things that are contributing to the incivility and therefore inability to get anything done. I mean, social media certainly doesn't help. You know, the 4 years we endured under the previous administration at the federal level, that example that was set that was very poor about, you know, how you might communicate and work with your fellow humans. You know, I just think we do a better job here of just treating each other like people. And you know, sometimes when you're in these positions, I mean, it is not as if you are immune to emotion and anger at other people, but you just gotta keep it in check and keep your eyes on the bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish for your community. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's universal across everybody who is active in the Oklahoma City civic culture, but I do think we have more civility, a better tone, and more willingness to work together and compromise. You know, that's the one thing I always say. Like, it's, you know, some people think all you have to do to work with other people is just listen to them, but you also have to, like, take in and actually use some of the things that they suggested to you. And so I love, yeah, I mean, I love finding that happy middle. You know, look, American democracy is created really to come out with outcomes that are good enough. And that's hard to put on a poster, you know, but really what we currently, all these people want, you know, on both sides is like perfection for as far as their perspective is concerned, and, you know, nothing for the other side. In fact, that's probably the higher priority. Make sure the other side doesn't get anything. And that's not the way this worked for 230 years. you come up with outcomes that are satisfactory to 70% of people, good enough outcomes, and even the great things that we think of we accomplished in American history were probably disappointing to the extremes of the spectrum, but they were good enough for the 60 or 7% in the middle. And I think there's a real mistake in American life today, this idea that we're polarized. Some people are, but I don't think actually that most people are. But we're just you know, the format that we use to elect people in most cases, and obviously the cable news and the social media all lend us to that observation. But I don't think it's true, and we can do better.
And that's why I don't run for office, because yard signs that say Andy Moore, good enough, are probably not
what do we want? Incremental progress.
Right,
when do we want it? At an appropriate pace.
Right.
Yeah.
Less bad, less harm.
Yeah.
We should try it. Maybe it'll work. Who knows? So what can we do to improve on that? And you mentioned specifically the way that our elections are held. I know that when you were in the state Senate, you ran a bill for open primaries. Do you think reforms like that, like the ones I mentioned that are on the ballot in Nevada tonight, do you think those kinds of things can change the incentives enough for politicians to move us forward?
Absolutely. So, as you know, you're teeing this up for a reason. I'm an evangelist for this topic. If you think that you like the political culture of Oklahoma City and you wonder why it's different at other levels, it is not necessarily just the people you're electing, it's how you're electing them. In Oklahoma City, right, all the candidates appear on the ballot. It's technically nonpartisan, but I don't think that's the most critical aspect. I think the most critical aspect is that all the candidates are on the ballot and all the voters get to see all of the candidates, right? So like, I, as a candidate, have to face everybody, or in my case, I believe, get to face everybody, and the voters get a chance to vote for everybody. You know, we have a different form of electing people at the state and federal levels, and so, you know, I don't exactly know how you're registered, Andy, but I'm guessing you never got to see Mick Cornett when he ran for governor 4 years ago. You never got a chance to vote for or against him. And that's just not right, and it's incentivizing candidates to, you know, to play to the extremes. I mean, we all know this. We all see it every single day. And instead, in Oklahoma City, you're incentivized to create a coalition across partisan lines. When I stood at First National Center in February at my reelection, and I looked out at that watch party, I could see a group of people that I knew to be Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. And that may be true tonight at this watch party, but that's not going to be true at many other watch parties you go to tonight in this country, and it needs to be. I mean, you need to get back to where there's incentives for that. So that's never going to change at the legislature. You've got to, you know, take that to an initiative or something, and you got to do it 50 times, unfortunately. But there are states that already have those processes in place, and I think they're getting better results. I mean, it may not be obvious on its face, but they're getting candidates that are more closer to the middle, who are reaching across party lines. And actually, I think in Oklahoma and in Utah tonight, there's an interesting dynamic where really you have a couple races where it kind of happened that way through a lot of manipulation.
Yes.
In Utah, you have a Republican who changed to an independent, and the Democrats didn't field a candidate, so they basically are presenting two Republicans, one moderate, one MAGA, you know. And here in Oklahoma, you have a Republican who switched parties to Democrat, and so you're basically presenting that. And in states like Utah and Oklahoma, you're going to end up with basically a Republican. You just want somebody who's not crazy, you know. So top two or top four or ranked choice, whatever, as long as everybody sees all the candidates and all the candidates have to face all the voters, you will get better outcomes.
Man, so yes, can we get some applause for that? You know, so I love this. You know, Andy called me a math whiz earlier. I'm not a math whiz, but I do find math and like data really interesting. And I love this concept. This is one of those things that I love because not only does it it sounds good and it sounds like something that would work, but there's actually like real world data that what you're describing actually happens. When you have ranked choice voting, when you have open primaries, you do get candidates that tack more towards the center, and you end up, they've done this in Nebraska, they've got data that shows you wind up with a much more productive legislature when you use these systems as opposed to a closed primary system. So not only, it's not just a theory that sounds great, it's a testable proposition that's been tested, put into place, and works.
The way you elect people dictates all the other outcomes. So, I mean, if you really want to make change in Oklahoma, you've got to work towards getting us away from closed partisan primaries. And then you'll see all these other issues, I think, start to flow from there. But if you keep fighting the issues in closed partisan primaries, you're going to continue to be disappointed with the results.
Absolutely. You know, one of the perennial issues that we face here in Oklahoma, school funding. We've got a couple school funding initiatives. There's 2 bonds on the ballot today, actually. You've been a pretty vocal supporter of those. What can you tell us about the bond issues on the ballot today and why you have such vociferous support of them?
Yeah, well, it's after 7, so I can finally stop telling people to vote for the OKCPS bond. And listen, in Oklahoma City, okay, first of all, there's 24 school districts, so we're really talking about the core of the city. It's, you know, it's not the suburban parts of Oklahoma City. But in the core of the city, you know, this school district that we sit in right now did not pass bond issues for decades. And so their buildings just completely fell into disrepair at the same time that the suburban districts were building gleaming palaces, you know, and of course it would draw the best talent, the best families. Everybody wanted to get out of this you know, hole that OKCPS was falling into. Well, in 2001, they passed Maps for Kids. We bragged about it for a long time. Things that helped, you know, kind of turn things around a little bit. But people kind of you know, I don't know if everybody followed this thread, but then it just stopped again. And from 2010, so Maps for Kids was in 2001. That's 21 years ago now. In 2010, basically from that point forward, OKCPS stopped fixing up its buildings again. And in those 12 years since, as an example, Tulsa Public Schools has put $1.2 billion into its infrastructure, and Oklahoma City's put $180 million. Now that sounds like real money to you and me, but it's really not that impactful when you're talking about a portfolio of 70-plus buildings serving 34,000 kids. And so something had to change. And one of the reasons, I think, was that there was no leadership continuity through the district in that time. Finally, Sean McDaniel has been there long enough to put forward something as bold as this. That's almost $1 billion. And also, it establishes a new standard that will help us for generations to come because he's bringing the tax rate up to near the average. It's not even at the average, but it's closer to the average of all the suburban districts around us because basically you're asking the district with the greatest socioeconomic challenges to to meet those challenges with less money than everybody else. And our kids in the core of Oklahoma City deserve the things that the kids in the suburbs have, and the kids in Tulsa have. So I hope it passes. And we'll know in a few more minutes.
Yeah, we'll find out shortly. Mayor, before we let you go tonight, you recently had an opportunity in your life that I'm very jealous of, and that's that you have your own beer.
Yeah.
Scott, I have one for you as well.
Mr.
Mayor,
a real
would you like,
collector's item you got there.
Mayor,
Yeah.
would you like a beer? I brought
absolutely.
one for you.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's cold too. Thank you.
Yeah, I spared no expense. Actually, I think I missed you just by a few minutes at the brewery the other day. So this beer is called Holt My Beer from the Stone Cloudian Times, and this benefits a nonprofit, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, we got to start drinking. So, to democracy. Here you go. Yeah. Cheers, everybody. Yeah, Stone Cloud came to me in the summer. Excuse me. With the name. It's kind of like when you write a title, like the title of a book, and then you write the book after that. That's what they had. They had the name, Holt My Beer. And I was all in, obviously, from that point forward. And then we decided, obviously, it should have a philanthropic aspect to it. And so all the proceeds are going to patrons of OKC Animal Shelter. That's a 501c3 that supports our city's animal shelter. It's a double India Pale Ale, which people who know beer and so therefore have opinions on such things tell me that even if they don't like a double IPA, that this one was smooth and very nice.
I concur. Yeah, that's me.
And they made 3,000 cans and they sold out in 48 hours. So I think we'll do it again sometime. But it went a little faster than I expected. But it was a fun endeavor.
That's a good problem to have, and I appreciate you using beer for good, right? If any local breweries want to sponsor like a Democracy Pilsner or something, hit me up. We can make that happen. Mayor Holt, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. This is fun. Good
Mayor
to see
Holt,
you guys.
everybody.
Thanks for caring. Thanks for giving a damn.